Welcome to How's Your ePresence? This show is produced by ePresence, and I am Mark Galvin, your host. We are so glad that you are with us today. It is a wonderful afternoon. This is a Tuesday. We typically do our shows early on Tuesday. We've now moved to the afternoon for all of our Tuesdays, and quite frankly, that makes me very happy. Tuesdays are a rather busy day. We love that you are here. As you know, we like to share content that helps you find either how to do something or learn a lot more information about something that is going to help your business. And typically it has something to do with marketing. If you're ever interested in finding out more of what we've done in the past, go check out our YouTube channel. We drop all of our live shows there, and you can go there to see where we can help you. We also drop all the shows as a podcast. So go check out our podcast channel. We'd love for you to subscribe to all of those, because that way you get notified when we drop a new podcast or when we go live. If you're watching the show live and you'd like to throw out a question, do so. And I think that you're going to like what we're going to talk about today. In fact, we're going to talk about business analysis, understanding all the parts of marketing as it has to do with business. We're going to talk about bad data and making poor decisions based on that data. Oh, that's always bad when you've got data and then you're making decisions on it, and it's bad. So we're going to get into that, and we're going to talk about, if we have time, get into the fear of digital marketing. So who is the guru we're bringing on today to talk about all this great stuff? We're going to talk with Jennifer Shaheen with Technology Therapy Group. Jennifer is absolutely, by the way, you're going to love Jennifer. She's got a great presence and is a very articulate and a lot of fun to talk to. So besides that, she's the founder and president of the Technology Therapy Group. She's a digital transformation expert, which means she's an expert in planning, implementing, and translating digital marketing and technology. She's got a 25-year career in many industries, and some of those would be finance and banking, manufacturing, design, construction, luxury, retail, and travel. She has been on MSNBC frequently. She also contributes to magazines like Entrepreneur.com, Forbes.com, CIO, Newsweek, the New York Times, and the Wall Street Journal. She is currently relaunching a firm she founded, Technology Therapy, to become an online education platform for workshops, courses, mentoring, and digital marketing support. So you can see why we're awfully excited about having her on today. If you have a question for Jennifer, just throw it right on the screen. I will, or right there in the chat box, wherever you are, I would love to pose any of your questions to Jennifer today. And I have a feeling she's someone that likes it when she's stumped, which I don't think is actually possible. But anyway, for all that, let's do this. Why don't we bring Jennifer on and see what she has to say? Let's see if we can find her out there. There she is. Jennifer, welcome.
Hi, Mark. Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in today.
Thanks for being here. You are a busy person. And you're from the smallest state in the nation, right? I didn't know this, folks. She said it only takes 50 minutes to travel from one side of Rhode Island to the other. And I knew it was small, but I didn't know it was that small. So welcome.
Thank you.
You are the first guest we've ever had from Rhode Island. So just want you to know that. We should send you a little hat or something to commemorate that, right?
Well, I'll set the bar high.
Well, I love that. So besides the things we're going to talk about, you do a lot of public speaking, and you shared that you're actually going to be swinging through Atlanta to do some public speaking. Share with our audience a little bit of what you talk about when you join folks for your public speaking.
Sure. So the show I'm at in Atlanta is the Atlanta Jewelry Show, and I'm talking about the new lemonade stand, which is e-commerce, what it means today to truly sell online. And it is going to talk a lot more about that. Just selling on your website nowadays is not enough. How you talk a little bit about that term. If some of you have heard of it, is called headless commerce, where you can actually send your information out to other platforms and sell directly there. So
Hmm.
that's part of what the new lemonade stand is.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'll be in Orlando at the Painters Conference to talk about data, which is one of my favorite conversations because,
It's so
as we're going to
exciting.
talk about today, right?
Love data.
Data,
Love that.
my favorite.
Well, one of the questions I always like to ask our guests when they come on is really builds a little bit about who you are and why you do what you do. So share with everybody what you do and why do you do it?
Sure. So, Technology Therapy Group is the company I founded. And really, I have a personal passion to empower growing businesses to leverage today's technology. I think it's so
Mhm.
important. I used to say back in the 90s when I started the company that technology was the greatest competitive advantage small businesses had. And if they learn to sort of wield the power, I think of Harry Potter and the wand, right? There was
Uh-huh.
so much we could do. And I still feel as though that's true today. I just think we get caught up in the muck of it, right? That
Right.
there's so much to do today. And so, really, what my firm does is we do live and on demand classes. So, you can take a bite of something, or we do
Hmm.
one on one coaching. So, we can really walk you through what means something to you. And then the third thing is, of course, we help with building and supporting you with many of the digital applications that we need as growing businesses today to compete, not and survive. But really, we should be
Right.
all trying to compete, right, Mark?
That's absolutely right. And I think there's some things that you said here that are really interesting, and that is that it's a little overwhelming. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. There is so much that we have to do. There's so much that we should be focused on. It's hard enough to run a business, right?
Hmm.
It's all the things that you've got to do every single day. Like as soon as we hang up the phone today, I'll be working on receivables, right? How exciting is that? And so you got all these little components of things that we got to work on. And then, oh my gosh, you got digital marketing. And wait a minute. You just said that the website is not the only thing that you need today. You've got to be kidding me, right? So much is there. And there's something else that's important. And we may not necessarily get this, but I'm just kind of painting that picture,
Yeah.
which all the listeners that are business owners would say is there's a lot of, well, there's some liars out there, right? Yes, if you put in $3,000 a month into digital ad spend on Google, it will sustain your business. Well, and for the record, that may be true for some businesses, I think, but it's not true for everything, and it's not the silver bullet. So that's what is fascinating about digital marketing today is there are a lot of ways to skin it, if you will. So let's get into some fun stuff here. And unless you have a thought there, did I give you?
No,
You got
I,
a thought?
I I think the only thing I want to add there, and I think is really important, is if we as business owners are unique, then we can't be looking for McDonaldized marketing. And I think that's a
Oh,
very important sound bite, if I might put out there, right? Is
oh, I like
because
that.
I think that's the hardest thing is where we, as businesses, we are trying to show what's unique about us. We can't just, pick a turnkey program unless it's really going to help us
Wow.
customize to our needs. I think that's
And
that's why we don't
yeah,
see the success, right?
I think that's a really interesting point. And we're all trying to figure out how our business can be found using 5 search words, but that can't fully describe a custom business, can it?
Not at all. And if we're going to get really granular, we don't all search the same way anymore. The
No, we
rise in
don't.
voice search,
Yeah.
I can't even say the words, okay, Google, because it will get at me.
Right, right. There's a word I can't use. She's right over there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
Alexa, Siri, right? So, how we're doing things is changing.
Yeah, that
So
is
that,
fascinating. So let me ask you, not
mm.
on script, how important is it to use a brand name, in your opinion, to use a brand name that is easy to remember? Because of all the vocalization that we're doing by search day. You know, when you run into someone and they say the purple psychedelics, and that's the name of their company, and what they do is they install desks.
Mhm.
I'm not going to remember that. Do you think that that's a really important thing today?
I do actually. I love that you're going off script because we really didn't talk about this. And
No, we didn't. I'm totally
it's
challenging you.
no, it's fine. I'm loving it. So ironically, I've worked a lot with intellectual property and trademark attorneys, and we have these conversations all the time because, again, we have to be thinking about lots of things as business owners.
Right.
And when you pick something that is broad and general, you run the risk sometimes of blending in too much. So there is
Right.
this balance, Mark, of finding a brand name for your business or creating something that is unique so that you stand out. Like today,
Yeah.
I was talking about payment platforms. And if you think about it, Venmo, right? I mean, that's a word. I don't know that
Yeah,
word
but it
5 years
works.
ago.
Yeah, but but fortunately, I think they had enough money when they put behind it. And who are they owned by? Aren't they owned by are they owned by PayPal? Speaking
I
of a
do
great
not
name.
recall. I know Zelle, I was reading about that, that has the banking institutions behind it itself.
Right. Right.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, if
I
you
think it's
think about
fascinating.
it.
Yeah. So our company name is one that I get very excited about because it is self-descriptive and people can somewhat remember it, right? It's easy enough to remember, but I do think that that's a real big thing. And I mean, here's the other thing.
Mm,
Speaking of trademark attorneys, I went to reserve our name, and the USPTO, the US Patent and Trademark Office, pushed back and said, "Nope, too general." I went,
yeah.
"Oh, wait!" And so we were able to get we're able to reserve it, but not at the same potency level. And I think that is really interesting too. So right, you can get too general,
Mhm.
and then how do you stand out from a field because you're too general? All right, this is awesome. I love this. Let's get into. I want to get into that first question here, and because this is so important. Businesses, in your opinion,
Mm.
typically need help analyzing. What is it that they need to help analyze? I think that would be a great thing for folks to hear.
So, this is going to be specific to every business, of course, but
Right.
every business needs some measurement of what is their key performance indicators, or as the term we all
Okay.
hear is KPIs.
Sure.
So,
Right.
if we start with something very generic, like website traffic, because we're driving to our websites people to look at our business, whether it be, organically through search engines, through ads, whatever, QR codes, whatever you're doing, right? We're
Yeah.
driving traffic. But what most people make the mistake about is when they're looking at something like their web traffic, they're looking at it with a broad view as opposed to really coming to that data with very specific questions like, well, where are the people coming from
Uh
that
huh.
are looking at my website? And when I say where they're coming from, I don't just mean social media or Google. I also mean where in the country, where in the world. One of the biggest mistakes I see so many businesses make is they open up some type of data metrics platform and they look at the general data without actually narrowing it down. So let's use you for a second, Mark, right? So you're based in Atlanta. And if you say to me, well, most of our clients are from Georgia, great. So if we're going to look at your metrics, I'm going to say, let's look at Georgia. But if you say, well, we really compete in the whole US, then again, same thing. Remember, your metrics are capturing the whole globe. So if you don't
Right.
start filtering out the noise, then you're not reading your metrics correctly.
I think that this is such a good point because can we, as a social media management company, work with someone in Rhode Island? We can,
Absolutely.
and but logically, it makes more sense for us to focus on Atlanta, and
Mhm.
so we do focus on Atlanta. If I get business from Rhode Island, amen, that's great. I'll take it. but we are focused on the hyper local piece because we're going to be found easier from Google because of that local piece. Maybe when we make our first $10 billion, we can do a national campaign and buy up all that. But that's kind of our strategy. What do you think about that?
Well, I think the word focus is the important word, right?
Okay, good.
I think as the biggest mistake I hear, and we work with a lot of startups, I have relationships with like SCORE and the SBA, and we've done some speaking for them. And I know this, the first piece of advice that I always give is when I ask someone, who is your customer? And they say everyone, then I say
Right.
you're lacking something which is very important, which is focus, because you cannot be everything to everyone. So when we talk about your business, even if you say I'm an accountant, or I am a retail jeweler, because we heard I'm going to the jewelry company.
Right.
One retail jeweler will appeal in the same market to one audience type versus another. And even in a market, you shouldn't be trying to talk to everyone. You do need to be specific, because without specificity, then we just become noise, right? We need a way to connect, and the specifics are what connect us.
Okay, so let's do this. We're talking jewelry. Let's stick with that.
Sure.
If I'm a jeweler, how do I get specific? Diamonds, and I'm going to totally show what I know. Diamonds are diamonds, right? I mean, how can I be specific if I'm selling a ring and some gold? What if I was that new owner, right? And maybe I'm sure this never happens. I think jewelry would be a great place to go. I'm going to put my money in there. And I start that company. What are you going to say to me about how I can get specific to drive more business?
Well, I think we need to go back to, who are you and
Really?
what are your core values? Absolutely.
Okay, wait
Because
a minute. So
who are you?
why does that matter if it about
Mark just
me?
wants to challenge me because he's a marketer. He knows why this matters.
No, that is not true. So I'm channeling my favorite skeptic, my wife, and that's what she would say. Like, who cares? I mean, and she would totally say, she goes, nobody cares about me.
Oh, my God.
I'm behind the scenes. I don't want anybody to know about me. Why do you want to know about me? And that's a legitimate thought, right?
Okay.
Isn't
So
it?
no, it's totally not.
Okay.
And here's why. Because it's funny, like, I get a talk today about the metaverse is the metaverse. And part of what's
Wait, you did a talk about the metaverse versus the metaverse.
Meta, which is Facebook's new company,
Right.
versus Metaverse, which
Got it.
is
Okay.
the actual universe of tools that we're using today.
Okay.
But one of the things that's behind it and why this world is really starting to take off is the blockchain. Now, we're going to go into some history of things, right?
Yeah.
So one of my favorite things about the blockchain, because I'm still learning too, is it was really developed around this concept of trust. And so let's go back to your idea here that it doesn't matter, but it does, because we build trust with our customers by connecting with them in who we are. I want to use a jewelry store, for example, right? There are certain jewelry stores that I'll never walk into because I've walked into them once and they've treated me like I'm beneath them, right? So I do think that how you build your brand and the way you speak and the word choices that you put out there and the voice and the imagery, you are communicating to the potential person that you're going to work with that, hey, we are going to get along because we're similar. And you know what? That posh person that walks into that jewelry store, trust me, there's plenty of those out there, and they're not my buddies, right? They're not my personal friends. I'm sort of with those other people who, just like, hey, like, we like each other. We want to get along. And so I want to walk in the store that makes me feel that way. And that's why we buy the brands that we buy, is because we emotionally connect to them, which is the beginning of building trust.
Interesting. You said something I think is important, and that is that we get emotionally connected to what we buy. Is that a cliche? Is that real? Do we really get emotionally connected? How does that happen?
We do. We get emotionally connected even if we don't own the product. And I love that you said we buy, but I didn't say we own, because the
Mhm.
buying experience in itself can often be very emotional. So let's dig into that. Why is Amazon so successful? You're going to say that's completely unemotional, but that's the point, is it's completely frictionless. Like, it made my life so much easier.
Right.
And that emotion right there of like stress being released is why. Whereas I have like a local coffee place I'm going to go to, because when I walk in there, it's more zen, and that's what I need. And I don't want the hodgepodge or rush of the craziness of that Starbucks.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
we don't have to own a product. And it's also like, why VRBO versus Airbnb? That's renting space. But there will be people who will tell you today that they won't use VRBO because they back up the owners, and that
Uh,
emotional connection,
yep.
see, and
Yep.
knowing what the brand stands for. So these are important factors, and they really lend themselves to understanding marketing behavior and creating segmentation in your audiences, which is a big
So
part of data.
yeah, this is so there's something I think is interesting here. So this weekend there was a football game. In case you didn't hear about that.
No, not at
And
all.
the if I was really good, I could bring up a picture and show you something. But the head coach of the LA Rams went to my high school.
Oh,
And so Sean McVay, actually, my daughter graduated from the same high school I went to last year, and Sean McVay gave the commencement. And so I'm a Rams fan because of that emotional connection, right? And it is something that is clearly emotional, right? And people say, "Why are you supporting the Rams?" Like, I love those people because of that connection. Amazon today, I'm get my car, I put my phone on my magnetic holder. In the state of Georgia, you cannot hold the phone in your hand. And as I'm
yay.
driving around, yeah, my phone starts doing this weird thing. It's like it's over there and it's kind of it's going it's just it doesn't look stable. I'm like, what is wrong with my phone? And then before I know it, it's like it was like a leaf falling off a tree. You zap straight down. Went what? And the little stem that holds the magnet that holds my phone broke.
Uh,
I was on Amazon within 20 minutes, ordered it. It's talking to me over here, by the way, because I could get that unit same day service. It's going to be delivered. It's going to be here before I know it. That is, I mean, I totally get that emotion there. That is so gratifying. I actually love that, right?
mhm.
At dinner time, I'll be putting on the new magnet, which is so convenient because I had a podcast to do today. I couldn't go out and buy another one of those. So this is
Well,
awesome. All right. Time check. Oh, I hate this. All right. So I'm
Mark and I
going
could talk
to
for hours.
this is awesome. Okay,
um,
I'm going to jump ahead because
sure.
there is something I want to get into that I think is really important. And it was that businesses are afraid of digital marketing.
Mm.
Why do you think businesses are afraid? And there's that emotion, right? The fear of digital marketing. And these days, I think it's palpable. Why do you think that's there?
Well, I think you said something earlier, which is really important, Mark, is that part of it is there's been distrust built up so much from
Uh huh.
some of the platforms. I mean,
Right.
Cambridge Analytica on Facebook,
Ooh, yeah.
and some other things, like people getting worried about, well, how do I know that my competitor is not clicking on my ad 5 times? I
Oh
know
my
that,
God, I've heard that a lot.
right? And
Right.
you and I know that there are things in place now that keep that from happening. But remember, I started this in the 90s, and that did happen years ago.
Sure.
So
Right.
I do think that it's, I think the people that are afraid are often the ones that aren't first generation digital, and that's fair. I get it, right? But I also feel in general, it's also the fact that some of it feels like a magic box to people, and
Right.
they things like this, like, do you know how every part of your car works, Mark?
Of course I do.
Sure.
I'm shaking my head no, by the way. For those of you that are on the podcast, no. I do know cars, right? I
Mhm.
do, but there are things on a car I go, I I cannot for the life of me figure out how an engine that is in this position can make the front wheels turn. That blows me away.
Right. And it's just a computer. And, I happen to be a bit of a car girl. So, if most of you don't know this, you can actually stick a USB into your engine and you can run codes on it and pull out diagnostics to understand. Mark's like,
Now
I
we
did
know what you
not
do when you're
expect that.
not. Now I know what you do in your spare time.
But I mean, again, the car has gotten more complicated, so we may not,
Right.
but we trust it, and we sort of,
Mm,
and I think that goes back to what we were talking about a little earlier. I think fear is often around this idea of trust. And, I do feel like some of the new technologies that are headed our way, they're going to be a fearful component at first. But if we're starting to really this is the thing about being a business owner, we have to learn every day. You mentioned working on receivables. I mean, if you didn't go to business school and you didn't take accounting, you
right.
had to learn how to read a P&L statement. Otherwise, someone's going to steal from you. So
Right.
when it comes to digital marketing, I'm not saying you have to know everything, but you do need to spend a little time understanding some of this and asking smarter questions of the people you work with so that you can feel better. And that's really what my mission is one of the things we tell people all the time is come in, do some coaching with us, and then you'll feel better about hiring that person because your business is growing, or because we shouldn't all be doing this.
Right.
The world is
Right.
changing too quickly, and just like I can kind of say, oh, I can pull codes on a car, I can pull the code, but I'm not going to know how to fix it.
Right. Absolutely. That
So
is really cool. And I like what you said that you should spend some time getting to know it so that you can understand it, right? So it's okay if you don't understand how a car absolutely works today, but it is really a good idea to understand what disc brakes are, for example. All right. And being able to say, yeah, you know what, that those brakes won't work. Um, Interesting. Very good. All right, we have 3 minutes officially left on the show
wow,
here,
that went too
and,
fast.
yeah, exactly, it does go by fast. The there I don't wanna ask another question because we'll end up going way over, but I am really interested in understanding how when you first meet a client and they walk in the door, what are the first questions you ask unless you've already answered that? What do you ask someone to make sure they're a client for you? And I'm curious, I'm not asking this because it's self-promoting. I want I want business people to do the same thing and kind of apply it to them. So what do you do? How do you find out what someone needs and make sure you're a good fit?
So I think this has to do with every business. We all need to make sure our clients are a good fit for us. Unfortunately, some businesses don't have
Right.
that opportunity, right? So the things that I often ask is I do ask people like, what is your goal? What are you trying to achieve? um, because understanding again how broad or specific that goal is starts to align expectations, and that I can then say, okay, we're going to be a right fit for you. Or sometimes I actually say, I think you need to go sit with, I've sent a lot of people to SCORE or the SBA to go sit with
Yeah.
someone who can coach them and mentor them on components of their business that we don't align with, because as I mentioned, we do digital education and training, and so I can help you with lots of parts of your business, but really if you're not very clear about where you want to be and who you serve, then
Mhm.
you're all over the place. I personally don't think it's a great idea. That's why we actually did the on-demand classes, is because then you could start to take bite size without really, I want to see this, wasting your money. Because if you're still trying to figure out where you're going,
Right.
hiring a firm who's just going to take you on, right? Like we
Yep.
won't say some big companies that'll just take on everybody, right? Then you leave with a bad taste in your mouth because someone didn't say, you know what, you're just not ready for me yet. So I want you to go expand your knowledge base. And when you come back more specific, we can help you. But if you're all over the place, and I know this because it's happened to me.
Right.
We get all over
Absolutely.
the place. We cannot accomplish anything as business owners. We do really have to be focused.
Yeah, I think that that's brilliant. There was I had a home repair guy come to me and say, "I need you to manage our social media for us." And by the end of the conversation, I had talked him into two um, really consulting sessions where I sat down and
Yeah.
say, "Here's what you should do." And I said, "I'd be happy to take you on and take your money. At the end of the year, you're going to be angry because we would have done nothing for you because he was missing so many other things
Yeah.
along the way." I love that. All right, so Jennifer, where do you want people to find you? We want people to be able to track you down. Where should they go?
Well, technologytherapy.com is the best place to come. You'll be able to access all our information and lots of free education. And then, of course, you can contact me directly off of our website.
Oh, I love that. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for being with us today. This has been a great conversation. You are a wealth of knowledge.
Thank you, Mark.
Folks, if you need a speaker at your session, if you're a professional association, oh, wait a minute, she's on that side. You need to make sure you give her a call.
Thank
That's
you.
what, this whole understanding
All
the
right.
mirror thing is difficult. Jennifer, hang out. I'm going to chat with you after the show, but I do appreciate you carving a little time and spending it with us here on How's Your ePresence.
Thanks, everyone.
So for the rest of you folks, thank you for joining us for another episode of How's Your ePresence. This show is produced by ePresence, and you can find us at our website, epresence.me. That's epresence.me because it's all about you. Remember, we manage both personal and company social media. You name it, we can help you with that. We also offer consulting and training on social media. If you're interested in any of our offerings, we offer you a discount just by being a listener or a watcher of or viewer, it all works. A viewer of this show, and it's that link right there, e-pr.me/listener. That's e-pr.me/listener. Go there, fill out that form, and you will have access to that 5% discount of all of our services. How's Your ePresence is everywhere. We are on YouTube. Let me do this from this screen. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. We love that you're watching. If this is the first time you've landed on any of our channels, hit that subscribe button. What is that? It goes on that side. Here it is. Hit that subscribe button. That way you know when we go live and you could join in and ask questions. If you like podcasts, join us there. We can drop all of our shows onto your app just automatically, and you get to hear all this wonderful information. If you don't know where to find a podcast or you want more info, go to our website, epresence.me/podcast, and you'll find out more about our podcasts. This show is produced by Morgan Wood. She is our not only the best producer in all of producery, but she is also one of our key people at ePresence. We love the work that she does. Until next time, for my guest, Jennifer Shaheen, I'm Mark Galvin. Thank you for watching How's Your ePresence?